Dreaming is something that has been of interest to psychologists for a very long time, since the inception of psychology, beginning with Freud. So Freud thought that dreams were the royal road to the unconscious.
Unconscious motives, according to Freud, were very down below and not to be let out into our ordinary consciousness. And that indeed was a part of the function of the ego, to kind of mediate these kinds of unconscious forces. But Freud said that when we are sleeping, then the ego is kind of off its guard a little bit. It's not really paying as close attention as it normally does. And so some of these unseemly, unwelcome, unacceptable, dark thoughts and impulses can kind of sneak up from the id into consciousness, but it's still a little bit too unpleasant to be just experienced directly, so they have to be experienced in symbolic form. So, to give you a concrete example, perhaps, you're really so furious at your brother that you really want to hurt them in some way, but having, a dream about actually, chasing your brother with an axe or something would be too ghastly to actually dream about. So you express that in some kind of symbolic form. Maybe there's some gift your brother gave you and you throw that out of the window in your dream. So this is why Freud thought it was so useful, why it was the royal road to the unconscious, to look at these dreams, try and understand what kind of symbolism was going on, and therefore get insight into essentially our unconscious wishes and motivations working below it all.
So this was all obviously a theory that was being developed before modern neuroscience, and once people started looking at states of consciousness in relation to the brain, that gave rise to a very different model of dreaming, and that would be this kind of like activation synthesis model. So the idea is that maybe when you're asleep, your brain is just sort of firing randomly, and you're just coming up with a story to make sense of what is happening to your brain firing, but it's not really telling you anything sort of deep or real about your subconscious, right? It's really just a reflection of sort of random brain activity.
The idea that we're really good storytellers,
Yeah.
and we can suddenly, these random things happen, and we can somehow, sew a thread between them all into something a bit weird but coherent.
Yeah. So we've got dreams as the royal road to the unconscious. We have dreams as just like random brain activity. And then other people have thought, well, maybe dreams play a role in some sort of memory process, right? We remember things better if we study them and then we sleep. So maybe there's some sort of process by which we are taking our day and we're putting it into long-term storage. And maybe dreams are related to that somehow. But I think what's really interesting about these different theories is that none of them is really good. It's not very satisfactory. None of them is the scientific consensus. And so nearly every day, nearly every person is experiencing this really very radical change in their conscious state. And even now, it remains a scientific mystery as to why that happens, what it's doing, what's the best sort of theory by which to study it.